All right, and this is it. This is the day that many of us have been waiting for. Nvidia, the world's most valuable company, is set to release its latest quarterly earnings in just a few hours. We're going to tell you all you need to know about this very big event and also how we see markets reacting in just a few hours. Okay. Hi, my name is Han Tan. I'm the Chief Market Analyst at Bybit Learn. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the chart here while making sure that we do have our folks joining us live on YouTube and also on X. For those watching, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you do give us a shout out wherever you are watching this from. I'm just going to wait for confirmation that we do have the live stream live on X and also YouTube. Again, this is the Bybit Learn official platforms. On X, it's at Bybit. Oh, sorry, at Bybit _ Learn. My apologies. At Bybit _ Learn. Where else on YouTube? Yeah, just type in Bybit Learn official and you'll find a channel. Click on the live tab and that's where you can see all these live streams that we do on a daily basis to keep you guys up to date on the markets. But today it's all about Nvidia. We are live now on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you are watching, if this is your first time, if this is your I think we've done like 10 of these live streams already. Just give us a shout out. Tell us where you're watching from. For the next half an hour or so, we're going to talk about Nvidia and its impact across U.S. stock markets. Okay, and I'm talking about the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, some of these big indices that you might be familiar with or not, and this is why you're here to learn along with us. Okay, I'm now just leaving the Nvidia chart on for you right now. I just want to get confirmation that we are indeed live on we are live on YouTube. Waiting for confirmation on X right now. Don't tell me that Cloudflare thing is still having an issue here. Just give me 1 second, folks. Okay, well, it looks like we are live on X as well. Okay, welcome. All right, let's get right to it, okay? So notice that even though U.S. markets have not officially opened for the day yet, right? Look at this chart right here. This is the Nvidia chart, and you are already seeing prices move on right here. Okay, this is the one-day candlestick chart, which means that each of these candlesticks or blocks, right, with the body and the wicks, each of these represents how Nvidia's share performed in that 1 day period. Now, this is the 1 day chart. You can change the time frame to, if you go to the left hand top corner, you can change it to 4 hours, 1 hour, even down to 1 minute. All right, you can go up to 1 week or 1 month. Okay, this is the 1 day chart. I'll just zoom in here to 1 minute, just really quick, but hopefully that doesn't mess up my chart too much. All right, this is what the 1 minute chart looks like. Well, okay, obviously not moving as much. Well, it's moving, but I gotta readjust a whole bunch of stuff. This 15 minutes. This is the 1 day chart. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't mess this up. Okay, so right now rising, but note that this stock, like U.S. stock markets, have been falling a lot, right? So for Nvidia in particular, it's fallen about 12 or so percent since its record high. Just not too long ago, actually. If you zoom out to October, sorry, it's just right there on the screen. In late October, you see here the 212.09. That's the intraday price from the closing price of about 207 or so, 208. But since then, it's fallen all the way down to about as low as 180, and finding support at that psychological level. Okay, so now if you are joining us for the first time, just know this. I'm going to draw this line for you so you can see it better. This is the $180 level, right? Yet another instance as to how big round numbers can impact the psyche of traders and investors. Let's do $180 here. Excuse me. Right. So you see support, support, just think of it like a floor, right? Whereby prices come down to that support level or that floor and then bounces up. right? As opposed to a resistance. Think of a ceiling, prices hit that ceiling and then come back down. Resist any attempt to go up higher, right? So 180, you see it acting as that support in mid October, then again in early November right here, and then again just a few days ago, and then yesterday and today, right? With extra support coming from that 100-day simple moving average, SMA. Simple moving average. It's a widely used technical indicator, and you can find them on the Bybit platforms. You can just go to the indicators tab up here. I'll just show you again right in the top left hand side next to the time frames. Look for indicators, click on it, type in moving average, and you can see a whole bunch of them, right? I like to keep things simple, stick with the simple moving average, and then you can tweak the time frame just by right clicking on it, and you can set it to, again, 9 days, 14 days, whatever you want. Okay, but I'm using the 50 and 100 here because they are more, perhaps more textbook, so to speak. Okay, so yeah, that's how Nvidia is performing right now. It is rising right now, even though US markets have not yet officially opened for another 24, 25 minutes or so, because here at Bybit, not only did we just launch these TradFi products just a few months ago, and TradFi meaning traditional finance. So I'm talking about stock indices like the S&P 500. I'm talking about gold, oil, and individual stocks as well. Okay, now you can find them by, again, hovering your cursor over the top left hand side for those of you using the web trading platform, or on the app. You can just tap on markets or trade, look for the TradFi tab, and then you can just find, again, stocks, metals, indices, forex, or you can just simply type in whatever you want. Okay, like in this case, Nvidia, boom, is right there. Now, let me complete that thought. Right, so we not only just launched these TradFi products recently, but then also for some stocks, some popular stocks like Nvidia, right? If you click on the info tab, you'll notice that the timings that we offer for these, for this stock in particular, it's basically round the clock. Okay, 24/5 essentially. All right. Well, you got a 1-2 minute window where there's a bit of a pause. So from 11:59 p.m. Wednesday until midnight, there's that 1 minute break, and then another 2 minute break from 1:59 to 2:01. Now, this is super important, right? Because if you don't know yet, Nvidia is going to announce its earnings after US markets close today. Okay. Now, depending on where you are watching from, and again, do give me a shout out wherever you're watching this from. Right, you transpose that into your own local timings. For me here in Dubai, it's about 1 a.m. Dubai time tomorrow. But then that's around when when Nvidia will release its earnings, right? So because you've got round the clock trading for these kind of stocks, you can expect to see an immediate reaction already, as opposed to, say, the usual US market reaction. You got to wait all the way until, well, for Dubai time, it'll be, like 6:30 p.m. tomorrow, right? So 24 hours from now before you see that reaction. Or else, right now, as the earnings come out in a few hours from now, you can see it pop ready on Bybit's platforms. Check it out on the web trading platform and also on the app. Okay, so yeah, that is super important. Okay, and especially those of you who are either not going to sleep, or you're eager to find out how this can impact broader markets or potentially your own positions, right? For those of you who are either investing or trading Nvidia, because we do know it's a huge stock. Okay, so this is the current snapshot of how Nvidia is performing right now. Again, for those of you who just joined, I see the numbers ticking up on YouTube and X. So excuse me. So finding support at that 180 big round number, that psychological level, and also from that 100-day simple moving average. So we'll kind of wait and see. Okay. Now let me show you what we had published on the Bybit Learn website just earlier today, and how you get there is. Yep, you can see my screen. Okay, let me just walk you guys through this. If let's say you start from the bybit.com website, right? Look for Learn across the top menu. Then you click on Bybit Learn. Then you'll notice the URL changed to learn.bybit.com, right? Oops. And then you click on blog for daily bits, because it's something that we publish. We publish something new every day. So then here you go. Here's if you want to read and just catch up over the next few hours before Nvidia releases their earnings, right? You can check these out here, and I'll walk you through what we have published earlier today. All right. So, world's most valuable company. Okay. Now, for those of you who recall, you may have seen the news from about a month ago that Nvidia became the first company ever in history to be valued at 5 trillion US dollars. Okay, that's massive. Not million, not billion, trillion. Okay, and that's that number is called their market cap. How much markets value this company? It's market capitalization, or just market cap for short. Okay, all right. So this was a quick snapshot of how markets were in the morning when I was writing it. But then let's go right to it. Okay, so keep in mind there are basically two events you got to look out for. Number one, not just the hard numbers from their the past 3 months in their annual calendar for Nvidia, okay, but then also then shortly after they'll have like a press conference when CEO Jensen Huang will come and address not just the media but analysts as well, and also and basically those the watching world, that will come shortly after. Okay, so lots of stuff to look out for after US markets close today. So note that Nvidia became the first company ever to reach a market cap of $5 trillion, although it has been falling ever since. That's what the chart looked like earlier this morning. Speaking about market cap, right, I just want to show you guys this. And we are taking this from the good folks at Bloomberg. I believe I can show you just this one chart. Can't show you too much otherwise due to copyright reasons. But here's a quick chart as to what Nvidia's market cap looked like. Okay, so look at the blue line, that's Apple's market cap. Look at the orange line, that's Microsoft's market cap. These are the names that you guys know and love, right? And they're huge in the US stock market. Look at how Nvidia just overtook it and surpassed them back in June of this year. Then ultimately going on to reach or breach $5 trillion late October, and a little bit again then in early November, before then coming back down. So now as things stand before US markets open right now, today it's about 4.4 trillion. Okay, so that's a visualization of really how big Nvidia is. Okay, now how big are they besides that 4.4 trillion or 5 trillion number? I'll scroll all the way down. I'll skip around this article, but again, you can find that on the Bybit Learn website, learn.bybit.com. All right. So in number terms, right, Nvidia accounts for 7.8% of the S&P 500 index. So if you don't know what that means, okay, so an index, just think of an index is a way to measure something. Okay. A stock index measures a group of stocks. Okay, so for the S&P 500 stock index, it measures 500 of the biggest names in different industries in the US economy. So it's not just Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, you're talking about Disney, Coca-Cola, JP Morgan, all these different big banks, big industrial companies, the works. Okay, so can you imagine one stock alone in a basket that's supposed to have 503 stocks to be exact, right? One stock alone account for 7.8%. In other words, it's big. Okay, it's big. Then if you look at another index, it's called the NASDAQ 100 index. Now, this one is for those of you who are fans of tech stocks, right? This is something that's widely followed because in that basket, that NASDAQ 100 basket, it's mostly these tech names, right? Again, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Tesla, what have you, okay? Within that basket alone, that index alone, NASDAQ 100, Nvidia accounts for 9.9%, okay? Huge. All right. So just know this. It's not just how markets move the stock based on what they announce in just a few hours, but that reaction for Nvidia stock has the power to potentially move markets, US stock markets. Okay. That's how big they are, that one stock alone. Okay. Yeah. let me just kind of walk you through some of these other juicy nuggets that we can pick out from this article here. Now, of course, the the environment right now, right? We know this. You just look at how the S&P 500 has performed, right? It's basically fallen for 4 consecutive days. This is its longest daily losing streak since August, right? You haven't seen really 4 days in a row of declines since around here. Okay, so markets are clearly anxious. Markets are nervous because there's so many big questions that they're going to show you again in the article that I highlighted, right? They're just anxious about, well, maybe this whole AI thing, right, may not be all that it's hyped up to be, right? We know that the AI story has been going on for years now, right? I'm sure you guys know Nvidia has risen by so many hundreds of percent since basically late 2022, early 2023 until now, right? So that story has sent this stock to become the biggest or the most valuable company, right? Now, can they actually deliver, or in the future when the CEO actually gives his outlook, well, can he actually still keep that hype up? And specifically, markets are wanting to know whether, how much more earnings growth, how much more can their earnings actually grow over, say, the next few quarters. Okay, let me give you some numbers here. And again, we have them all highlighted in the article. So, for those of you who like the financial analysis, I gave you some top line figures. If you're not used to seeing these numbers, just know this. This is the benchmark that markets will be referring to. So, let's say, right, revenue actually comes in at 60 billion, right? That'll be a massive surprise. So, there's a positive surprise, then that stock should go up. Right. Same thing with the net income or earnings per share. Right. These are some key metrics that markets and investors and analysts will be using or relying on. Okay, so you can just refer to them as well, and you can compare them against what's actually announced after US markets close today in about 6.5 hours or so from now. Okay, so that's one. Basically, the earnings growth for the past quarter. Okay, let me try and make this bigger a little bit. Yeah, hopefully, there we go. Much bigger, much better. Okay, number two, right? Then it'd be the forward-looking stuff. Okay, so it's whether or not Nvidia can, tell us that, hey, there are big customers like Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Meta. They already account for 40% of Nvidia's total sales. Can they keep their spending intact? And it's not just these guys, like you got so many other deals that that they have signed with, say, OpenAI and all these other, not just AI companies, but also even governments, right? Whether they are confident that, hey, there's going to be a lot more business to be done. There's a lot more growth, more money and profits in their pockets, right? That will determine how markets react to this stock and potentially the broader stock indices as well, okay? Look out for this outlook. That's just one headline number. Many different numbers I could pull out for you, but then there'll be like a 2,000 word expose, right? But anyways, now then obviously the big question here is really whether this is an AI bubble, okay? Because if you've been following the space, you would know that there have been so many deals between Nvidia, OpenAI, and all these other big players across the AI space. But it's almost like the money is kind of flowing within themselves, right? Markets really want to know, well, how much of this is actually going to be real customers from real demand and translates into real profits. Okay, I'll just show you this really cool article that Bloomberg had, or really this infographic, right, just to show you the flurry of deals that have been in the AI space. Now, this article was published, I think, in early October. Let me just zoom up real quick to see the timestamp. Yeah, October 8th. Okay, and you can Google these yourselves. This is publicly available. Look for the Bloomberg story with this headline here, okay? With web of circular deals, and this is what it looks like, right? So it is, they have thrown about words like flywheel, right? Flywheel, or it's a circular deals where basically, like who actually is the supplier? I mean, of course, Nvidia is very much at the heart of it all, but really, how much of this extends into real customers, real demands, and even more real profits, right? That's the question. So, for example, OpenAI, they've already addressed these concerns and spoken about how, hey, we are in hyper growth mode, right? They don't expect to be profitable until I think around 2030 or towards the end of this decade. So it'll be a few more years, right? So the question is whether this AI hype can be sustained for a few more years, or at least for the next few quarters, right? Because if there's any disappointment there, as we have seen, markets are willing to take book this, the S&P 500, book some of their profits and just really sell down. Okay, and you see that in S&P 500, you see that in Nvidia, right, falling, and you see that in the Nasdaq 100 falling as well, really for much of this month. Okay, so those are the key talking points that we'll be looking at as they announce their earnings. Okay, again, backward-looking stuff. What happened in their fiscal Q3? What's the near-term outlook for next few quarters? And then overall, really, are we in a bubble? Okay, now actually, let me just show you one more cool thing from the Bloomberg story right here. And let me just zoom in real quick, just to kind of, I'll leave this up on the screen for, not too long, just to kind of give you an idea of all the deals that have gone through. I believe up until, the month of September, it was a record-breaking month for all these deal makings in the US alone. It was the highest ever. And a lot of that came down to these AI deals that you see on the screen. Okay, so keep that in mind. So all that is weighing on professional investors' minds and funds, and of course, even those of you who are following this this really exciting industry, of course, because it obviously boils down to our individual use cases, right? I'm sure many of you even have your own personal AI subscriptions for ChatGPT, or you're using Gemini within your Google suite, or a Copilot with Microsoft, right? So whether or not you're actually paying for it, and then you want more, especially for like say all this agentic work or generative AI work right now. So whether you're actually willing to part with more of your money for that kind of stuff to fuel all this, right? That's what markets want to see, as opposed to just right hand sending it to a left hand. One AI company just does a deal with another AI company, and it kind of stays in that bubble, right? Will that bubble pop today? That is the question mark. Okay, so that's Nvidia for you right now. Okay, going back to this chart, right? Excuse me. So I've given you the upside forecast and downside forecast because there are these options markets, really. If you're not familiar with that, don't worry, I'll spend another time. But basically, there are segments of the markets that predict, hey, depending on what Nvidia says overnight, this stock could move nearly 7% either up or down. Okay, so the specific number is 6.94%. And let me just give you some, markets haven't opened yet, so those numbers should still be the same. Nevertheless, I'll just make a quick double check. So 6.94%. Yeah, so that's the forecasted one-day move after the earnings are released. And again, those of you on Bybit, right? Again, you don't have to wait until tomorrow to actually see the stock pop. You can pretty much see it in real time. Okay, because we offer essentially or practically 24/5 round the clock trading. You can click on the info tab here for these individual stocks. Not for all stocks do we offer them, but for some of the stocks that we know that you love, like Nvidia. Okay, so that's what Nvidia looks like right now. So finding support, rising ahead of these highly anticipated earnings. Let me just dive into some quick numbers here, just to kind of show you how important Nvidia is. But in the meantime, look, folks, if you got any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat below. I can unfortunately only see on YouTube the live chat. X, I got to kind of scroll around. So but yeah, just try to drop them in. If I get a chance to spot them here during the live stream, that's cool. I know more and more of you actually watching it after the recording is done, which is fine, because you've got still a few hours between now and the actual earnings release. But drop them in, and if I spot it, I hopefully try to respond to you. But let's get this conversation going, right? At least judging by how the markets are reacting right now, do you think these fears are overblown? These AI bubble fears are overblown, or do you think Nvidia could actually spring a positive surprise? And there is some talk about that, right? Because given how fearful markets have been, not just in crypto but in U.S. stock markets as well, right? Markets have been fearful that there are so many things to consider, not just the AI story, but also what the Federal Reserve is doing. And we'll talk more about that in tomorrow's live stream, because there's the US jobs report that's actually being released tomorrow. It was delayed during the US government shutdown. They announced that, hey, we're going to release it on Thursday. So make sure you stay tuned or tune in for the live stream tomorrow, which will start earlier at 1 p.m. GMT. But anyways, that's a story for another day, for tomorrow. But there is the Fed, the AI, all these things that are just really causing markets to think, okay, look, we've had a good run for Nvidia stocks and S&P 500. We got these major doubts right now. Maybe let's try and book some profits and see where we go from here. And hopefully we'll get some solid answers here very shortly. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how Nvidia's earnings have impacted broader markets. I created this table just earlier today. So let me make sure that I've got it on the wrong screen. Hold on, give me 1 second, folks. Sorry. Let me try this again. Flying solo here. There we go. Okay, cool. Now, so from these numbers, you notice that US stock indices are less volatile, meaning they move less than Nvidia, the Nvidia's actual stock, right? So that's the title. Oh, let's start from the left. Okay, the reason I put +1 is because remember, Nvidia will announce their earnings after US markets close today, right? So just as a way of measuring it, what I've put is I put the earnings day of the date of the earnings release, but then obviously it's these numbers correspond with how these different assets react the day after. Okay. So with that in mind, you can see, Nvidia, right? The last earnings was pretty tepid because, again, Nvidia didn't really do too much to excite markets. So the stock just barely fell, 0.8%. And then we know subsequently towards end October, like I showed you earlier, it went on to hit a new record high, market cap valued at $5 trillion. First time ever that a company has ever, hit that kind of valuation, right? But then if you look at in the past, right, especially, in 2024, when that AI story was still so new, right, you had 16% 1 day jump in the stock, 9% jump in 1 day stock, and then 9% 1 day jump for the stock, right? And then you got disappointments there in the middle of 2024 going to 2025. Then you see some outsized moves. This is a 1 day, 1 day move for this stock, right? But then you look at the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. So there have only been maybe like a couple of days, like the February one, right, where the Nvidia's reaction just drags the broader markets down. Okay, but then on the flip side, in 2024 February, right, that big jump there also helped boost the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Right. So, again, it shows that there is, it is clear that Nvidia has the power to influence sentiment, not just for its stock, but it's also these are the big tech names like the Alphabets, Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple, because, maybe less so Apple, because the rest of them, right, they are also very much involved in AI, right? So Nvidia being the center of that AI story, they clearly have the power to move the sentiment around the broader AI space, and then subsequently around these major stock indices as well. All right. So therein lies some ideas, right? Hey, if you're looking for something less volatile, maybe the indices might be a worthier choice for you. Or if not, right, there's Nvidia. I know, of course, there are many derivatives that you can even look at for more volatility, but these are the ones that we have, at least that has a direct link to Nvidia, at least over the next day or so. Now, just as some headline numbers, right, if you want to kind of just to further illustrate the relationship between the S&P 500 and Nvidia. So if let's say you look back over the last couple of years, you've got, you take any 5-day period, Right? Take any 5-day period when markets are open. Of course, over the past couple of years, the S&P 500 moves in the same direction as Nvidia 91% of the time. Sorry, I can't show you those numbers because that's on my Bloomberg terminal, but 91% of the time, wherever Nvidia goes, S&P 500 follows during any given 5-day period over the past 2 years. If you look at the NASDAQ 100, that number goes up to 95%. Okay, 95%. So that's on like a weekly basis. If I say pull it out to like, 1 month has got, say 20 trading days, right? 20-ish. So that number comes down to 85% for the NASDAQ 100. So again, take any 20 days rolling day period over the past 2 years. 85% of the time, the NASDAQ 100 follows where Nvidia goes. And then similarly for the S&P 500, that number is 79%. Okay, so pretty high odds there. Okay, so again, what I'm showing you on the table right now, that's for the 1-day reaction. What I've just described to you is the longer term, say 5-day rolling period or 20-day rolling period. That relationship is very much intact. All right, but for the immediate consideration, it's 7% or 6.94%. That's the forecasted reaction, either up or down. Now, of course, if Nvidia sounds confident, great. Right? It could. This is no guarantee. Yeah, none of this is financial advice. I'm just relaying to you what the markets are saying and giving you different bits of information to form ultimately your own narrative and your own expectations, right? So yeah, 7% could be up or down depending on what Nvidia tells us in the next few hours. Okay, maybe let me just show you one more thing. Hold on, let me get out of this. All right. So again, 7%, well, based on earliest prices, I think earlier was about $184 or so, right? So those are the numbers just as a guide. Okay, but again, you can do the math, right? Of course, the stock will keep moving between now and for the next few hours. Well, markets have opened right now, but that's where we're at right now. For Nvidia, looking at S&P 500. Okay, so again, just some quick analysis of this chart here. So look, once again, if you have been tuning into these live streams, you would note that very often around big round numbers, you see the same kind of reaction, right? So in this case, 6,600 for the S&P 500, right? Being that support yesterday and today, it was a support region as well back in around mid-October. And then you see this similarly around late September, and a little bit. Well, this was more resistance. Well, not much, but yeah, a little bit of the action in mid-September, right? So it's almost like these big round numbers have this gravitational pull either as a support or resistance, right? Or or maybe even as a target, right? So that's what happened yesterday and today. 6,600 can bounce right back off. So, we're going to keep an eye on these two moving averages, 50-day simple moving average to the upside and then 100-day simple moving average to the downside. This is for the S&P 500. And then for the NASDAQ 100, same thing, right? 24,400, nice big round number. Support yesterday, support today, support around in middle October as well. And then another episode around here in late September. Okay, 24,400 for the NASDAQ 100. Again, you can find these on the TradFi tab on Bybit, both on the web trading platform and on the app. Okay. Similarly, 50-day simple moving average and 100-day simple moving average. That's what I'll be keeping an eye on. And in table form, just to kind of wrap up all these numbers into one nice little table. I'm going to show you here. This is what it looks like. Okay, at least this is what I'll be keeping an eye on. Yeah, so again, to be very, very clear, please do not misconstrue any of this as financial advice. Please do your own research, like my mic says. Okay, I know you can't really see it because it's hidden by that live button on YouTube, but I have let me try and pull it up. Can you guys see this? Yeah, do your own research, right? DYOR. Okay, please. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Any questions or comments that you guys may have about this very, very big event? Now, look, to be clear, right? Nvidia may also just offer another tepid response because markets had kind of been fearing quite a bit already. So if Nvidia's forward-looking guidance and its past earnings doesn't really spook markets too much. Don't be surprised if then the stock offers little reaction, and likewise S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 offers little reaction, right? But if there's a big surprise, either to the upside or downside, this could reverberate all the way through, tech stocks in Korea, and even affecting European stock indices as well, right? So don't be surprised if we see a broad-based reaction, given purely how big and how influential Nvidia is, not just in terms of the AI story, but its weightage in these stock indices, S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. Okay, real quick, I got to do my job here. Look, folks, I hope this is all great information that you have taken away with you, but I like to think that learning in and of itself is a reward. But hey, we here at Bybit Learn, we want to make it that bit sweeter, right? So make sure you scan this QR code right here on the screen, or you can click on the link that's on the YouTube description for this daily live stream, or also on X. You can find them splattered across our X feed, right? You click on it, and then it'll bring you to this site on learn.bybit.com. I'll leave it on for 5 more seconds so that you can scan this QR code. Otherwise, you can just tap on the link, right? 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. Once you actually scan the QR code and click on the link, you actually end up here, right? So for these live streams alone, we've set aside 25,000 USDT in potential rewards. So just by signing up, you can potentially get your share of that 25,000 USDT pool. And then once you end up here, you've got a further prize pool that you can take advantage of, 5,000 USDT every week. All right, just by completing all of these different tasks, just by depositing or doing a spot trade, checking out different products or verify your identity. That's what you also known as KYC, know your client, or even invite your friends. Even if you read articles or like articles or share them on social media, like the one that I just posted about Nvidia early today, then you do that and can earn points and potentially your share of this further 5,000 USDT price pool, and you can benchmark yourself against these guys. We've got 25 pages of different winners who have already gotten their share and are still competing for that weekly prize pool. But for these live streams alone, just for signing up, right, we've got 25,000 USDT to give away. Do not miss out. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I think in just a bit, I'll then post this link on X, so feel free to check it out. Again, that's Bybit_learn. Then you can hopefully find the article there. Otherwise, you can just go down to bybit.com or learn.bybit.com and find the article there under the blog and click on daily bits. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for today. Man, this is going to be so exciting. Don't forget, tomorrow again the daily live stream will start an hour earlier because of the release of the once delayed US jobs report. That is actually coming out tomorrow. So we'll start at 1 p.m. GMT, and then the data will be released at 1:30 p.m. GMT, and we'll show you how those charts are reacting in real time. Okay, so quick check. We've got Bitcoin, of course, that you know and love. Look, we had highlighted this 89K level from earlier this week, and boom, it just basically got to within 0.3% of it just yesterday, finding support, bouncing off, struggling to hold on to those gains. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow's jobs report has a meaningful say over what happens with Bitcoin, at least between now and going into the weekend. So that's Bitcoin. Gold prices doing quite well this afternoon. Let's do a check-in right now. Yeah, there we go, right? Jumping back up to 41.14 right now, $4,114, smashing past that 9-day simple moving average, right? For those of you who are looking at it on the longer time frame, yeah, it's got to target that next a recent cycle high before it even has a chance to go back to a record high or even post a new record high. A lot of this will have to do with the Fed. Okay, a lot of this will have to do with the Fed. I'll explain more tomorrow. Look at that price action around 4,000. Again, big round number, hits it, then bounces right back off, right? These levels was the forecasted 1 week trading range that we had drawn into this chart for since last Friday, right? It's Wednesday now, so very much still within that range with a bias towards the upside. Now we'll see how long this lasts. We'll do another check-in tomorrow. But USD JPY, how about this, right? If you guys saw this, I tweeted about this earlier today as well. We had spoken about the possibility here from last Friday, right? Back when the chart was still just struggling with 155 resistance. Now today, it just smashed right up. Now 156.4, hitting its highest level since January, basically, or almost just so nearly a 10-month high, shy of 1 week, right? But again, we had mentioned this as one to watch for this week. Don't believe me? Check out the blog again. Go to Daily Bits and look what we have published on Monday, right? 3 assets to watch. And you've got USD, JPY. We mentioned Bitcoin's death cross. You see where the chart was there, and we already highlighted the 89K level there, right? And also keep me in check, right? Keep me accountable. You can watch the previous live streams to see I had shown all those charts live as well. But here it is in printed form. Nvidia, we spoke about it already, right? Back then it was 6.45. Now the number has gone up to 6.94. And then USD, JPY to set 10-month high. Today we got the answer. Yes, it did. All right. Did you miss out? That's the most important thing. So don't miss out, right? Make sure you keep checking out what we publish on the Bybit Learn blog and also on these live streams. Is there anything else I can show you guys? I think, look, there's plenty already. We're about 10 minutes over. Drop me a comment if you've got any comments, questions. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. GMT. And I know we might have plenty more to talk about in the reaction to Nvidia, or maybe not, right? Maybe they're just wanting to kind of keep things cool, not spook markets too much, and then we can quickly move on to the US jobs market, US jobs report, which will be due out at 1:30 p.m. GMT tomorrow, Thursday. But join me starting at 1 p.m. GMT here on YouTube and also here on X. Thank you so much for joining today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.